This is our second installment of the Murder Ball series. We're going to talk 6 March Murder Balls today. We're going to talk your best 6 March lineups, no matter what you have, no matter what combinations you have. And we're going to do some psycho builds when it comes to running 4 cavalries or going all Delta and Smite. So stick around while we get after it today. Everybody, I'm your boy War Daddy Chatsky, and I make videos all the time. And if you enjoy these videos, be sure to throw a like on here. Consider subscribing. It doesn't cost you anything. We are doing our Murder Ball series. So we did our 5 March Murder Ball. I'll have a card at the end screen. You can go back and look at that. We went through the best 5 marches, kind of how to go through those, whatever combinations of marches you're running with the troop type. Now we're going to do 6 March, and 6 March is really, really fun. Everybody eventually gets to 6 marches in KVK. Just about everybody, I would say. And a lot of players who do Crystal Tech and push it, there's going to be a time they run 6 marches. Also, 6 marches are used when you're running through a KVK and you're running out of troops and you got to pull from 7 to 6 marches. There are all kinds of different ways to run your 6 March Murder Ball. And this is the video that's going to show you. We're going to have a ton of fun with this because we have so many new things. And we talked about this in the previous video of the 5 March lineups. We have so many new things with Chen and with other commanders in here that have allowed us to kind of put together the best marches and how to run them and how to set them up and all those things. And so CJ is another one and Bert is another one. You've got K2 commanders that they've transformed from skill damage commanders to Smite with CJ and from skill damage to combo with Bert. So there's some play with those guys at the end we'll have some fun with, but they're not going to be involved in the main 6 March setup. So let's get right into it, okay? A lot of people run 2, 2, and 2. That's 2 infantry, 2 cavs, 2 archers. Very spread out. You get to maximize the best commanders in the game, and that's what we're going to talk about first. So the first, and this is not necessarily in order of the best, but I'm going to go through 9 different options today. And the first one we're going to go through is a 2-2-2 setup, and it looks a little bit something like this. This is our option 1. 2 calves, 2 infantry, 2 archers, okay? We've talked about this with this situation. I like to personally put Philip behind Zuge. Zuge always does better when Philip is behind him. Much faster. It's able to do a lot more things. And I run that integration trick that I do with him. So that's how I run my 2 archer marches. We've talked about this. Chen YSG is the best march in the game. Just best standing, pure by itself march in the game is Chen YSG. That's the release of Chen. He's enhanced by skill damage. Does crazy stuff. So those are your 2 archers on the right, and putting Philip on the field. Philip's always going to be on the field, no matter what. We're going to put him somewhere. He's got to be on the field. So you put him behind Zuge. That is an insanely good march, okay? My 2 infantries are pretty simple. Those are the best 2 infantries you can run, with BQ, Luce, and Ragnar's CPO. And then my cavalries, I feel if you're taking Philip out of it, this is the best 2 cavalry you can run. Now, people sleep on William, okay? We've talked about what Arthur has done to unlock William. Let me show you guys something. And Daver brought this up, but I think it needs to be highlighted, okay? And I encourage everybody to put comments down there, because that's where Daver put this comment. Daver's in my, he's a part of the King's Codex. He's in my Discord all the time. He's in 606 with me, and we talk about this stuff all the time. This skill right here is starting to become more and more prevalent. We've always known that William doesn't do massive damage, but his kit is busted. It's got so many cool things to his kit. It gives enhancements to your whole murder ball when it comes to defense and different things. But this little line right here cannot benefit from buffs that increase skill damage. This used to be like really, really popular back 2 and 3 years ago when you had mainly skill damage commanders. You really didn't have anything else but skill damage. This was really, really good. Well, now that we've gotten into combo and smite and everything, this has lost a little bit of value because it doesn't affect the combo and smite stuff. It just affects skill damage, which is direct damage, additional damage, and range direct damage and range additional damage. But what you have to understand with this is the Chen YSG nerf. Okay, I want to be very clear about that. The more people run Chen, either with Zuge or especially Chen with YSG, this nerfs that completely for 3 seconds. The reason why Chen and YSG are so good is because YSG has the unbelievable ability to bonus skill damage to 62%. He gets 50 from this skill. He gets 12% from his museum buff. That's 62% skill damage. Well, when you pair him with Chen and how Chen works, he only does skill damage. He doesn't do white numbers. He doesn't do a whole lot of basic attacks. He does a little counter attack, but he basically does all skill damage. So that's like an all damage buff. Well, when you decide you're going to put William on the field and he hits Chen, YSG, that completely nerfs the YSG skill damage bonus. It also nerfs all the bonuses to skill damage. This is what people have to understand. Let me come over here to my Huo. So people run this stuff, and Hunter, the boosts stay. Okay, you're gonna still have the boost, but all of this increase to skill damage gets completely nerfed. Okay, and so the balance, same thing here. The skill damage gets completely nerfed. Okay, so that is a kind of a secret little thing when it comes to the value of William. All of a sudden, when people are running Chen YSG, you can completely negate the massive skill damage bonus that YSG gives Chen. So just think about that a little bit. So when I run these marches, I want, if I can help it, I always want to put William in there. He is so much more valuable than Nevsky in this 2-2-2 setup. You don't want to, if you're running 2 Cavs, that's how you want to run it. If you have Philip over here with archers, you put William behind Arthur. Okay, so that is your 2-2-2. That's what I like to run. That's what I like to use, and it does really, really well. Let's go into our next one. This is option 2, okay? This changes things a little bit. If we're gonna pull Philip over here to Arthur, then you're basically just gonna switch out Herman for Zuge, okay? And so that's kind of how I like to run. The Huo Joan, Arthur, Philip is like the best 2 Cav marches you can run. I'm not saying they're the best marches in the game, but if you're gonna run 2 Cav marches, those are the best 2 you can run. And then of course, infantry doesn't change, and you bring in Herman to run behind Zuge in the 2-2-2 setup on option 2. Now we're gonna get a little bit crazy here. Okay, we're going to option 3. So now we're gonna run 3 Cavs, 2 infantries, 2 archers. Okay, so 3 Cavs is what I love to do, and my newfound amazing march I love to run is Joan Philip. It works. And just so everybody understands how these two work together, when Philip came out into the game, I originally said, well, it might not be good to run with Joan because you are going to nullify the rage requirement for Joan. Basically meaning you're running so many active skills that you're going to completely nerf the whole situation of firing your active skill because of this right here, where Philip in his expertise, he runs active skills a second time. Well, everybody knows that if you have Joan in your lineup, she's going to run her skill, and then her fourth skill allows her 100% probability to run her skill again. That's why she does so much damage. Joan will fire off, the secondary will fire off, and then Joan will fire off again. But when Philip is there, Joan fires off, Philip fires off, Joan fires off, and then Philip will fire off again. You literally get 4 active skills in a 7-second period. And then you're already loaded up with rage again to where Joan fires 2 seconds later, and then Philip fires again. And then there's a chance for Philip to fire it again. That's what's so crazy about this march. And so it has become one of my marches. And so basically the TLDR when it comes to that march is, hey, why does that make it good? Well, if you're rage capping and you're slowing down your rage cycles, that's not good. But that doesn't matter, because if you're slowing down your rage cycles because you're running an active skill every 2 seconds, that's a really good thing. So I love the Joan Philip combination. I love bringing Belly in with Huo. If you haven't run Huo Belly, it is the March killer. Single target, massive, massive damage, huge debuff from Belly. It is really good. And then you have the William that runs with Arthur, and that works out really, really good as well. You got your 2 infantry marches that don't change because those are the 2 best you can run. And then I've got over here, when you're running just 1 archer march, you can run YSG or Zuge, just depending on what you want. YSG has more damage, does better in the field, a little bit better. Like, they're both amazing. They're both going to be your best marches. but YSG I like better just because it does more damage. Zuge does a little bit more utility. Zuge does the damage mitigation of the 5 targets he hits, so he gives your murder ball a little utility. People like running them both, but I like YSG. And then you have an Attila factor. So anytime you run 3 Cavs, you can bring in the Attila factor. We've talked about it. Attila Phillip, amazing. It's really, really good. Attila Bertrand, we've been testing it. It has got some viability. Just get ready, because Attila with combo commanders is gonna be a thing. And that's one of those foreshadowings that we have to where Attila Bertrand is really good in the field. Bertrand does all kinds of rage mitigation. His kit is really, really good. He just doesn't do enough damage. And when you put him with Attila, at least Attila enhances the damage that he does. So you have kind of an Attila factor there, but this is your third option. 3 cavalry, 2 infantry, 1 archer. Let's go into the next one, shall we? This will be option 4. This is 2 cavalry, 3 infantry, 1 archer. Okay, so you're going to run the best 2 cavalry you can run. If you're going to put Philip somewhere else, you're going to bring Philip in with the infantry. I love Luce Philip, still love it to this day. Luce and his expertise that allows him more basic attacks, if you will, enhances the proc of Philip. Philip's proc, basically his proc, his instant proc that he does, in my opinion, is the absolute best in the game. Okay, it is an 800 damage factor to 3 targets. All right, that is massive. That's more than Alex's proc. That's more than William's proc or anybody else. Okay, and he reduces their rage by 100. There's only a 3-second cooldown on this. So that's why Arthur works really well with Philip, because Arthur does so many attacks and combo attacks. He makes this thing trigger so much. Well, it's the same thing with Luce. You want to run Luce with this guy, because if you do, then Luce has the extra basic attacks to make that skill fire off. It's Luce's expertise. It's one of the reasons why he is such a powerful commander, along with the fact that he does crazy damage. So that is a march that is still really, really good. That's where I like to put my Philip when I'm running him with infantry. And then I bring William Wallace into the field behind BQ. I love that march. BQ Wallace just does damage. It is really good. It's tanky. It's a little bit slow. So you got to watch it there. Try to get your boots to tier 5 of the iconic system. That way you've got the march speed. Also try to run 4 piece for 10% more march speed on the set bonuses. And then the same thing with Ragnar Scipio. And then finally, you've got your Archer March. You could run that however you want. Chin YSG or Chin Zuge. Okay, let's go to the next one. We talk about option 5. This is fun, okay? 1 cavalry, 3 infantry, 2 archers. Okay, if you run 1 cavalry march, no matter what you run 1 cavalry march. The best 1 cavalry march you can run is Huo with Arthur. Massive damage, rapid fire. It's a skill damage march. Arthur becomes a skill damage commander as a secondary. That's the best cavalry march you can run if you can just run 1 march, okay? And I keep the infantry the exact same. And then on the archers, you basically just divide up Zuge. If you're running him with Chin, you just run Chin YSG, and then you run Zuge with Herman. That is a great way to run 1 cavalry, 3 infantry, 2 archers. Okay, so that's option 5. Let's go to option 6. All right, this is a 2-3-1 setup. This is 2 cavalry, 3 infantry, 1 archer. Okay, and so I like to run obviously the 2 infantries with this, the 3 infantries with this, the 2 cavalry with this, and then you can run whatever archer you want. It kind of stays the same. We'll go to our number 7. This is a 2-1-3 setup. Okay, now if we're running 3 archer marches, what are we gonna do? Okay, and so from this standpoint, we're gonna run Huo with Joan, and we're going to run Arthur with William. We're going to be able to move our Philip, because if you're running 3 archer marches, Philip has to run with the archers, okay? And so this is a situation to where if you only run 1 infantry, BQ Luce is amazing. Second best march in the game behind Chin and YSG and Chin and Zuge. And that's, if you're only running 1 infantry, that's what you want to run. And then you can bring in Ash Herman now. Ash is still a great AoE commander, tons of damage. You have Chin YSG and you have Zuge with Philip. That's the best way to run that when you run 3 archers and a 6 march murder ball, okay? We're going to do the same thing, but if you're just running some crazy stuff with numbers options 8, this is where the Cav Psycho stuff comes into play. This is a lot of fun, all right? This is one of my favorite things to do. I call this the Cav Psycho build. If you're running 4 cavalry commanders or 4 cavalry marches, 1 infantry and 1 archer, this is how this sets up. You want to run Huo with Belly, Arthur with William, Joan with Philip, and then bring in Attila Bertrand. This will be good for you Cav players. You're running 2 skill damage Cav commanders. You're running, or Cav marches, you're running a combo Cav march, and then you're running Attila, a second combo Cav march with Bertrand. And then you go with the best infantry march and the best archer march. And that is how some of you Cav psychos can run your 4 march setup. Now that we have Smite and combo, I did something kind of fun. This is the crazy Smite combo build for option number 9. So let's go to it. This is wild. Again, this will drive people crazy, okay? There is no skill damage, as you can see here, outside of Chin. All right, so every one of these marches is either laying down smite damage and combo damage, or it's enhancing the smite and the combo damage. You run Arthur with Bertrand, okay? That is 2 combo commanders. Bertrand just doesn't do enough damage. However, it's still pretty good with Arthur, and you run that. Now, we're gonna get new Cavs in a couple of months, and when we do, that'll be replaced with the new Cav field commander that will be combo, and it'll be busted good. So that's a good one for your first march of Arthur and Bertrand. Okay, from there we run Attila Takeda. Let me explain why. This is what people have to understand when it comes to Takeda, okay? Takeda has the burn effect. He puts a 4-second burn effect on his active skill. Now, here's the interesting part. Whenever the burned troop, whenever it has a burn effect, is hit with a basic attack, okay, there is a 50% chance that it will take 50% more normal damage for 1 second. When this happens, if your marches that are running combo and smite, big heavy hitting marches, BQ and Luce and Wallace and Arthur and all those smite and combo damage commanders, when they hit the target with their big smite and combo, when this goes off, it is like a bomb goes off. They get massive damage on the target. That's what makes Takeda work. That's why you run Attila Takeda counter rallies. And people are like, why do you run Attila Takeda counter rallies? Well, if they're rallying your structure and you've got a Gorgo Hera or a Gorgo Tokugawa smite damage commanders in the garrison, you put Attila Takeda on the counter rally, because when that counter rally hits the rally, it starts inflicting the burn effect. And I'm just telling you, when that thing goes off and Gorgo hits her big smite damage, it's wild what it does to the rally. So it's the same thing in the field, but now you just got more chances that this stuff's going to hit because you're running all combo and smite damage commanders. That's why it works. So you're going to enhance it with the Attila Takeda. Attila doesn't do any enhancement for normal damage from other marches. He does it from himself, but Attila's just great to use as a primary with Takeda secondary. Now we bring Alex in the field and run Luce with Alex. Still an amazing march. And now you're running Luce with Alex. You get the Alex instant procs, plus Alex does the all damage debuff that he puts on all the other targets. It's a great debuff, still one of the best in the game. So you're running that smite march. Then you're bringing Philip with BQ. I'm not necessarily a fan of the synergies there because Philip is better with Luce. However, BQ so strong, and Philip does the all damage buffs of all the marches and the all damage mitigation, less all damage you take for all the marches. It is great to put in this particular smite combo setup. This is wild. And then you bring in CJ. Let's go. William and Wallace and CJ is a good pairing in this setting because they both run the smite. CJ is a sneaky good commander. He's got a great instant proc that he does, and that lays down big damage with your William. William's got a 40% damage bonus to smite that he does, and when he's the primary and you focus that on one target, it is very, very powerful. And then you bring in Chin with who? Shajar. Let's go. Shajar finally gets in the field. First of all, the Chin Shajar march is going to be like the tankiest and most sustained march in the history of the game. He is the tankiest commander. Okay, his 4 skills off the charts. Okay, you're mitigating all Smite combo and active skill damage by 40%. It's so wild what he does with his tankiness. Will you put Shajar secondary? She's going to do massive healing, okay? But what makes Shajar work is that her expertise gives a buff to 3 of your marches of 20% more normal damage for 3 seconds. Well, if all of your marches are combo and smite marches, it's just like a 20% more all damage to those marches. So Shajar finally cracks in on a crazy build lineup when it comes to a 6 march murder ball, and you're going all smite and combo. So run Chin Shajar when you do that. Test this. If you got these commanders and the gear to do this, go test it out. See what it does. Because I've run Takeda in the field before with a bunch of smite and it works. And so this is kind of your crazy psycho smite combo build when it comes to your 6 march lineup, and that'll do it for us. So there's your 6 marches. Okay, we'll come through here on how we run this thing. We run 2-2-2 setup option 1, 2-2-2 option 2. We run a 3-2-1 on option 3. We run a 2-3-1 on option 4. We run a 1-3-2 on option 5, a 2-3-1 on option 6, and then a 2-1-3 on option 7. Then we get into the Psycho Cav march stuff, and then the Smite combo march stuff. So these are the best ways to run your 6 marches. I've run all the different types of 6 marches you can run, maybe except for the 3 archer marches, but I rely on my archer players to tell me how that works. But this is what to do and how to do it. If you enjoyed this video, throw a like on here, give us a thumbs up, consider subscribing. It doesn't cost you anything. And if you haven't joined my Discord, this is where all these conversations come into play. Join my Discord. The link is in the description, and you can be a part of that conversation, be a part of our community. We're almost hitting 6,500 Discord members. We're blasting through the subscribers, so we're growing this community, and I can't tell everybody how much I appreciate all their support with it. So with all that being said, we'll get to our 7th March Murder Ball, 7 March Murder Ball, or 7 March lineups in the next video. So this is our Murder Ball series, our lineup series on how we do 5, 6, and then 7 marches. And we will get out of here. Have a great day, broskies.